name is Martin Strother, and I serve as the director of a new statewide school board network called Indiana Leaders for Academic Success, where our focus is on reforming public schools and returning their focus to students' academic outcomes. We're a part of a growing national network called School Boards for Academic Excellence. Today I'm joined by Aaron Salt. He's the Executive Vice President of SBAE. Prior to that, Aaron served on many boards, including a charter school board, public school board, a public library board. He was a COO and assistant superintendent, and he's been a consultant for school board governance. He's the author of a new book that I'm thrilled to discuss today. It's called Govern Differently, an academics-focused governance model and how to use it for good. I cannot emphasize enough the importance of school boards in Indiana and our need for excellent leadership. We have 290 school districts and nearly 1,700 school board members who oversee budgets that span from tiny Medora with $2.8 million annually to IPS with $420 million annually, making them not only the largest employer in many communities, but also the organization with the largest budget. Aaron, unfortunately, the pattern that we often see is legacy school board associations around the nation often train school board members to perpetuate the norm, to trust so-called experts in their school district admin. This is a disservice to school board members and to the community who entrusted them. After all, they're the only elected officials who are actually supposed to represent the community to the district and not the other way around. SBAE does a great job at supporting state network partners like us at ILAS, and so that we can then support individual school board members in the Hoosier State. In your book, you provide a unique governance model that you've coined values-based governance. Aaron, give our audience a brief summary of your definition of values-based governance, its 3 tenets, and how it actually promotes change in local school districts.
Yeah, thank you, Martin. I appreciate you having me on and all the work you're doing in Indiana. And so values-based governance really is focused on understanding that there are different values that are driving governance decisions within your district. There's your values and the district's values, your board's values. And so values-based governance is how you actually take those values and leverage them for good governance and good policy. And so there's 3 core tenets. The first is strategic alignment, making sure that what your district is doing actually aligns with the mission that it's there for. You are a public school district. Your goal is to educate students. And so everything within your operations should be towards that end. There shouldn't be a lot of additional funding. There shouldn't be a lot of initiatives or board meeting agenda items that deviate from academic outcomes and focusing on student achievement. So the first part of that is strategic alignment and making sure that operations fall within your goals as a district, your purpose. The second tenet is policy development, and that's where you're actually taking those values that you define through that strategic alignment process and you embed them and codify them in policy. The third core tenet is cultural adaptation, and that's really where the rubber meets the road. That's the implementation of these values and making sure that it gets carried out. One thing that I'm very keen on is that of accountability. It starts at the top. And so you can't hold your superintendent accountable if your board's not holding itself accountable to these ideals. And then you can't expect teachers to be held accountable if the superintendent isn't held accountable. You have to start with that accountability structure from the very top and make sure it goes down. That happens through goal setting, that happens through contracts, that happens through agenda items, board self-evaluations, and all of that's covered in here. Those are the 3 core tenets.
Yeah. I think put simply, strategic alignment defines the values, then you have policy that embeds those values, and then cultural adaptation implements them daily. Aaron, let's get practical. One of the values that you hold is that schools should be neutral learning environments, free from distractions, a focus on true intellectual freedom. You actually successfully implemented a one flag policy in your district, and the way that you went about it, I really enjoyed. It created buy-in for most parties in your school district. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you were able to do that?
We have a policy governance model where we have administrative and board policies, and then we have administrative policies. The board focuses on the what and the why. That's really that values level. And then the administration focuses on how. And so our board was able to work with the administration to put in place a policy that effectively created neutral zones. We didn't have flags or wall displays outside of the Colorado state flag and the U.S. flag. Those were the only 2 that we were allowing in there, outside of some temporary displays through your civics curriculum and whatnot, being able to display, previous flags and talk through implications in meetings, but those are defined as temporary. And one of the things that this helps create, and I talked about this in a separate piece that you can find on our website, is that having these neutral environments actually helps protect the educators that are in the classroom, and it helps them build rapport with their students. If you have students that walk in and they are very conservative, and you have a teacher who has, some other like BLM or Hillary Clinton flag, there's going to be an automatic pause and need to overcome this sort of disconnect between the student's philosophy and the teacher's. The argument goes counter as well, where if you have a student who's a little bit more liberal or progressive, and they come in and a teacher's got a Trump flag on the wall, there's an automatic bias that sets through that. And so having a neutral environment pushes these political agendas out and actually helps students focus, helps teachers focus, and it helps build rapport between them. And so working through that policy and positioning it as a tool to help educators, to help students, to focus on academics and none of this other political ideologies, and frankly any other ideologies, whether political or not, same goes for religious or whatever, really strictly focusing on the academics creates that environment physically to be able to help support the academics.
Yeah, that's great. That ties in perfectly with my third and final question. Your book challenges boards to remain focused on academics. It's in your title. It's in the title of both of our organizations. Why should this be a core value for all districts? And then how practically can board members best encourage focusing on just student outcomes, not all the other things?
It's a great question. The nice thing about the way this model, this framework is designed is that it doesn't adhere to any specific policy model. It's agnostic. And so being able to adopt this, it's really more of a paradigm shift more than it is any sort of an application or a vote or some new process that you have to vote on. And what I like to tell people, and we talk about this a little bit in the book, is that you can start with this tomorrow. You don't have to have your board adopt anything. You as an individual board member can just start to shift your language. You can start to shift how you talk about any item that comes up before the board. And when you shift your rhetoric to being purely focused on academics and how things help students, you'll see a shift and they'll become a little bit of a dichotomy between your conversations and the ones that other board members are having. That's something that I've witnessed with other boards, and the administration seems to take notice and they start to understand. When I became board president for our board, that was one of the things that we focused on, was making sure that we had strong language from anybody who was speaking with the media, anyone who was speaking with reporters, anyone speaking for the district, was to focus on how, whatever topic, whatever the question was, how it actually impacted students. And we did that even through, we had a board member resign, and so we're going through an appointment process. So when we had media coverage, all we talked about was how that appointment process would impact student outcomes, how we were focused on bringing people on board that were also going to focus on student outcomes. So it's not terribly difficult, and it doesn't require big board action. It's something that any board member can just start adopting by having that paradigm shift.
Yeah, that's great. At ILAS, we emphasize respect for parent rights, their ability to raise children, raise their children as the ultimate teachers and decision makers for their families. Staying focused on academics is also a good reminder, I think, for all of us that schools are a government entity, and we know they are not the best solution for trying to be all things to all people. We see medical centers, mental counseling, etc. But what I hear from Hoosier families, let's empower teachers to teach and let parents parent. To conclude, I hear from all over the state, we need more effective candidates running for school boards. Our board's values do not align with the majorities in our community. For the first time in our state's history, we will have more transparency in our November school board elections because candidates can now choose if they want to run with a party affiliation or not. Aaron, I believe your book can prepare candidates from all backgrounds, regardless, by helping them shape their campaign pillars, but also train them for how to govern on day one when they're seated on the boards. It really, truly complements what ILAS is doing to support excellent school board members around the state. Well, I'm so excited about this book and to share it with others. Where can viewers get their copy of Govern Differently?
You can go to governdifferently.com. There's links to the book that you can purchase online. There's also some other resources like our school board bootcamp that helps frame some of the core principles and logistics behind running a board. It doesn't talk about partisan or politics or issues of any kind. It really is more mechanical in nature of just, again, the mechanics of serving on a board. All of that's at governdifferently.com.
Great. Well, hey, Aaron, thanks for being with us, for sharing your wisdom on such an important topic. Again, this is Martin with ILAS. We are illuminating the path to school reform in Indiana. Thanks for joining us today.